All right, everybody, welcome back. It is time for another deep dive, and this time we are talking about traditional karate.
Right.
We are going deep
Let's do it.
beyond, those flashy kicks and punches that you see so much of, on the surface level.
Right.
And really getting down to like the philosophical, like strategic core
Yeah.
of what makes this martial art tick. And to help us out with that,
Yeah.
we have excerpts from a training camp with Master Hidetaka Nishiyama.
Absolutely one of the greats.
Yeah, this is like a rare
Really?
glimpse into the mind of a true master.
It's really cool. We have some excerpts from a training camp where he's talking to his students and giving them advice, and it's just fascinating stuff.
And it's so valuable because so much is passed down,
Yeah.
kind of mouth to ear, right,
Well,
in
yeah.
martial arts. And
Absolutely. And so much of it gets lost, in translation.
totally.
Or over time, people kind of forget, or it morphs into something else. So these are really valuable insights.
Yeah, absolutely. So to jump right in, I think one of the coolest things that I really took away from this is this whole concept of Budo.
Mm.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, most people think of martial arts and they just think of fighting, right? But Budo is a much broader concept, and Nishiyama talks about this a lot. It's really about developing yourself mentally, physically, and ultimately being able to neutralize conflict without even having to fight.
Right.
That's really the ultimate goal.
It's almost like that inner strength
Yes.
that prevents things from even...
Exactly. It's that sense of yourself, that confidence, the stability that prevents things from escalating in the first place.
Totally. And that really stood out to me in this document, too, was this idea that you can't have effective technique if you're emotionally all over the place.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Everyone's felt that, right? Where you're just in the zone
Right.
and things are just flowing and you're super effective. And then there's other times when you're scattered, your mind's all over the place and you just can't seem to do anything right.
Yeah.
And that's your key, flowing or not flowing in the way that it needs to.
So how does that actually work, right? Like when we're talking about throwing a punch or a block or, whatever it is,
Sure.
how does that like manifest?
So, in traditional karate, we talk a lot about ki energy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this life force energy that flows through all of us. And Nishiyama talks about this in the document, how you need to learn to harness that ki and actually make it part of your technique.
Okay.
So it's not just about muscle.
Right.
It's about using your mind to direct that energy.
So it's like your body is a conduit
Exactly.
for that energy.
Exactly. It's all connected.
Oh, wow.
You can't separate the mind from the body.
Okay.
And you can't separate your energy from the technique itself.
Oh, I see.
It all has to be unified.
Okay, so you've got to cultivate that
Yeah,
inner stillness in order to even be able to do the physical movement.
exactly. And that's one of the things that makes traditional karate so challenging and so rewarding.
Right.
Is because you're not just learning how to punch and kick. You're learning how to control your mind, your body, and your energy and make it all work together as one.
So how do we actually do that? Like, how do we train that?
Okay, so like imagine you're trying to, like you said, throw a punch,
Mm-hmm.
but you're off balance or your weight's on the wrong foot.
Right.
It's not going to have any power, right?
Right.
But if your center is strong and you're channeling that ki energy
Right.
through your tandem.
And remind me, what is tandem again?
Oh, yeah. So tandem, it's kind of like your core,
Okay.
but it's also this like energetic center in the body.
I see.
And it's where we generate a lot of our power from.
Okay.
So you charge your tandem with kihei, you maintain that perfect posture,
Right.
and then you initiate the movement from your center.
I see.
And it creates this like spiraling force
Oh, wow.
that gives your technique so much more power and focus.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
And it made me think about those, like, the kata.
Those forms that you do,
Right.
are they kind of getting at this?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the kata, they're like these choreographed patterns of movement,
Yeah.
but they're not just some like dance routine,
Right.
They're like encyclopedias of knowledge that have been passed down for
Right.
centuries.
And they're encoding.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And Nishiyama talks about this too, how important it is to really study the kata and not just go through the motions.
Right.
He uses this great phrase. He says, you have to learn to digest the kata.
Uh,
And what he means by that is you have to understand the principles behind the movements,
Right.
the variations, the subtle details.
I see.
It's like learning a language.
Right.
You can memorize a bunch of phrases,
Yeah.
but until you understand the grammar.
You can't really speak it.
Right.
And it's the same with kata.
Okay.
You can memorize the movements,
Yeah.
but until you understand the underlying principles,
Yeah.
you're not really going to be able to apply them in a real situation.
And that's what I thought was so interesting, is he was saying that a lot of people who learn kata
Yes.
don't actually digest them. And I think that really resonated with me, because you see that in a lot of different disciplines, where it's easy to get caught up in just the physical,
Absolutely.
like just the movements.
It's the same in any field.
Yay.
You can learn the basic steps,
Right.
but to really master something, you have to go deeper.
Right.
You have to understand the why behind the what.
That's so true.
And that's what Nishiyama is really emphasizing here.
It's like you're saying, it's not just muscle memory. It's
know.
like strategic understanding.
Exactly.
Yes, you've really got to go deep.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then that makes me think about how this idea of balance is so central to
Yes.
all of this, right?
Absolutely.
Like you were saying, if your stance is off, if you don't have that inner stillness,
Right.
you know it's not going to work.
It's all connected,
Yeah.
your mind, your body, your spirit.
And you know what's so cool about this too is, like, we're talking about that in the context of martial arts.
Right.
But I feel like all of this is so applicable to
Absolutely.
life outside the dojo.
Yeah.
You know?
It's life lessons.
Yeah, totally.
The things that you learn in traditional karate,
Totally.
they apply to everything.
Like that idea that if you don't have that, like you said, inner stillness, that if you're not approaching a situation with that, like,
Presence,
centeredness, exactly,
Yeah.
then you're not going to be
You're going to be reactive instead of proactive.
right. Exactly.
You're going to be off balance.
So it's like you're saying, it's not just about fighting, it's about like living a more like
Exactly.
way.
It's about becoming the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
And that's really what traditional karate is all about.
I love that.
It's a journey of self-discovery.
Yeah. That's fantastic. And, I think we're just scratching the surface here.
Oh, yeah. That's
But
good.
hopefully this gives people something to think about.
Yeah, for sure.
And kind of like you were saying, see those connections between these like really ancient practices and, how they show up in our lives, even if we're not, black belts.
Exactly.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for another great deep dive, and we will see you all next time.
See you next time.